Hello YouTube, in today's postbag we have 7 parcels. The first parcel is wrapped in clear bubble wrap and you can kind of see what's inside. This is the Asus Prime Z270p with 5x protection. Inside the box is the motherboard, not in an anti-static bag, 2 serial ATA cables, some paperwork including a serial number or a coupon, motherboard layout instructions, a user guide, I/O plate and some M.2 screws. The pins look in a good condition, so that's the first thing to check. The board will need a bit of a clean. The board has 2 PCI-E 16X and 4 PCI-1X as well as 2 M.2 ports, giving a total support for 8 GPUs. The Asus Prime Z270A supports up to 9 GPUs, assuming that is 8 of one type of board and 1 of a different type. The board has 4 USB 3, HDMI, DVI, PS2, 2 USB ports, Ethernet and 5.1 surround sound. The Asus Z270A has support for 9 GPUs. The ASRock H110 has support for 13 GPUs. The next parcel is from CCL Online. Two boxes. Inside the first box is an ADATA DDR4 2133 MHz 4GB memory stick. The next item is a second-hand Intel Celeron G3930 on a LGA 1151 socket. Here we have the processor and the cooler. The next parcel is a 2.5 kilo parcel with a Chinese shipping label underneath a Royal Mail label. It comes with a Chinese def adapter, which should never be used in any circumstances. It comes with an Australian plug, but I would never use a plug like this. It could be because they are not actually rated for the correct amperage. Some cables could be a copper clad cable, which means it's an aluminium cable coated with copper. Those are not really fit for purpose. Another reason why I wouldn't use this is because the live and neutral pins are not sleeved, so any small fingers can touch the pins whilst half in the socket. This is a 1300 watt power supply with a 90 plus gold rating. I'm sure they're only 80 plus rating in bronze, gold, platinum and titanium, but this is Chinese standard. When you buy electronic equipment from China, you should always check to see if it's earthed. Depending on where you probe, it is actually earthed. There are no unpainted exposed earth points on the outside, but there is a heat shield inside. From here, only one of the heat shield appears to be earthed, so I'm not sure how good the earthing is on this power supply. Comes with a 24-pin connector, a power cable for the motherboard, 12 connectors for 8 plus 2 pin for the GPU, which is sometimes called as VGA cables. However, because of the rating of the power supply, this cannot power 6 GPUs that I have. 6 4-pin Molex connectors and 7 serial ATA power connections. Some people say, oh, you should only go with branded power supplies because they're more stable, but people don't realize the branded power supplies that they buy is actually from China. They say you should avoid the unknown brands. This power supply claims to be designed especially for Bitcoining or Litecoin, provides stable power for your mining machine. The next parcel was sent by special delivery and they paid £8.55 for 961 grams. This parcel was supposed to turn up yesterday, but it was at the post office for a day. Okay, in the parcel is an invoice, and inside this big box is a much smaller box. Inside we have 16X riser card with version 6C with the power cable supplied. These will go onto the GPU so then they can be mounted externally to the computer. The version 6 has additional components. There are 2 diode-like components not populated. They may be populated in version 7. Comes with a 330 microhenry inductor and a few other components. The next item is in an Asus box. And inside the box is a MSI Armored 1080 Ti graphics card, overclock edition. MSI have included a 6-pin to 8-pin adapter in case if you have a power supply with only a 6-pin PSU, and there's a few other things inside the box. Some stickers, CD, and some instructions. And here is the graphics card. 2 large fans. The seller has included their original invoice showing they paid £740 at the end of March. The next parcel weighs heavier than the last parcel and is smaller than the other parcel. This is a standard NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080 Ti graphics card. This card has the DVI port removed for better airflow. Also, instead of having 2 lots of 8 pins, this has a 8-pin and a 6-pin connector. Box also contains a display port to DVI cable because they removed it from the graphics card. A manual, a guide and a sticker which only sticks once, so use it wisely. It says not to stick it on the notebook or desktops internal or your siblings' hair or pets. The next parcel is a very large box. They paid £26.60 for a special delivery guaranteed by 1 PM parcel weighing 10 kilos, but the box is not 10 kilos, so they overpaid on the postage. In the box is a MSI Aero GTX 1080 Ti graphics card, overclocked edition. Inside the box there is a quick start guide, a CD and a display port to DVI adapter because MSI have removed the DVI port for better airflow. This board also has an 8-pin and 6-pin power connector. The Asus Prime Z270p motherboard was £99.99 with free postage, and that came from Bond Express in Basingstoke. The motherboard supports 4 DDR4 RAM and the LGA 1151 CPU socket. The guy said the motherboard's been used for about 3 to 4 weeks, but looking at the dust on it, it's been used a lot longer than that. The RAM was ADATA 4GB DDR4 at 2133 MHz, and the processor was a Intel Celeron G3930, which is 2.9 GHz on an LGA 1151 socket. These came from CTL Computers, and I got them from here because it worked out cheaper than buying them separately elsewhere. The RAM was £27.38 and the CPU was £33.70. After placing this order, I refreshed CCL Computers webpage and the CPU was cheaper. It is now at £32.86. So I contacted the shop. They said, well, this was a different one, and I said, well, I want this one, and then they finally agreed to allow me to have the CPU at this price, and here is the refund for the 84p. Next item is the power supply. It's a 1300 watt power supply which is rated as a 90 plus gold power supply, which is for 6 GPUs. That really depends on what type of GPUs you're using. This was £99 with free postage and it was in the UK, so I chose this item from this seller because I wanted a power supply quickly rather than wait for one to come from China. And also a higher value item such as £99 is subject to import duty and VAT. This came from a Chinese seller with a UK warehouse-ish called Jiafu Sufui 2. It says the model number is 697203. On the power supply it says LY-1300K. The rated power is 1300 watts and it says it runs from 180 volts to 260 64 volts, which means it can't run on the US power supply. And I have actually seen Chinese mains go down to 180 volts about 10 years ago. So this looks like it's really for a Chinese market, which can work in the UK. It says it's fit for a miner or other server. I'm not sure why it says it can't support the GTX 1070 and the GTX 1080. I'm assuming what that means, it can't support 6 of those graphics cards at the same time because they have a higher power consumption, which also applies to the GTX 1080 Ti graphics card. And the last part just says if you're going to overload the power supply, it may fail to power up and you just need to use lower power GPUs, or in other words, you can just use less GPUs. It's fine running 4 1080 Ti GPUs. The PCI 1X to 16X riser cards was a rebranded generic riser card by CASHBAck. There were 6 pieces for $29.99 with free delivery. It was described as used in very good condition. The box has been opened, and looking at the details for the seller, Megan Working, it was a Chinese seller, and because it was used, I had a hunch that it would be based in the UK rather than sent back to China, because it's cheaper for the Chinese people to send items out rather than receiving items back. It says it's dispatched from Hong Kong, but it was actually dispatched from the UK, I think Sheffield. These GPU risers are now $39.89. They were at a higher cost when I purchased them. They were around £49 at the time of purchase, so the prices do change frequently from the same seller. So the description says it's top of the line solution, version 006C riser cards. When you compare this version to the older version, the new one has 4 capacitors instead of 3. It has a 6-pin power supply port instead of a 4-pin Molec. It has a self-restoring fuse for escort your equipment, whatever that is. The new version also has a stable IC and sealed inductor, which makes the graphic card work more stable. There's a thumbs up and it says new version victory. The boards are backwards and forward compatible, so they'll work in the 1X, 4X, 8X and 16X slots. It says it's all grade A premium components. It's flexible and comes with a 60cm blue USB 3.0 cable. It says black/blue, but mine was blue. So in theory you could mount these graphics cards 3 meters away from the motherboard. It says to plug in power cord for the floppy when plug PCI-E extension must be computer broken wires plug in again. The form, a complete set of wire rod is customized. Never grab line to plug in. Remember that. It'll be easy to remember if I understood what it meant. When plug wire must identify the direction, not to counter or offset, prevent burning equipment, plug wire when the socket of equipment first, then plug wire, avoid too hard plug socket pin is broken. I think that means plug it in the right orientation to prevent short circuit and damaging equipment, and don't force it in too hard otherwise you'll break the pins. Dual core graphics suggestion with the one line. The motherboard is 16X, also recommends using the old row line. I have no idea what any of this means really, but it's important. Another line that is confusing is number 6. Solve the problem that welding point fragile burn, transmission signal attenuation, platoon line length is not enough, and so on. The next item is a MSI GeForce GTX 1080 Ti Armor overclock GPU. I won this in an auction for £580 with £15 delivery, and that came from Arhova. The seller just lists the standard specs. He said he bought 2 of these 3 months ago on the release day. He tried to use them with the SLI, but not many games supports 2 cards under SLI. I actually came second in this bidding because the original bidder pulled out and I received a second chance offer. I accepted on 2 conditions. Firstly, for them to send me a copy of their invoice, so I have a copy of it for warranty purposes, and I wasn't happy about the £15 postage when I know I can get it for £2.69 ish. So after a few emails, the seller wouldn't budge on the price of the postage. He was trying to say that the postage could be £13, £12 and sometimes more than £20, so he uses £15 as a good baseline. I wasn't happy with this, so I wanted to negotiate further. He then says he can knock the postage down to about £10, but it will not have insurance. That's still too much money for postage. I tried to arrange my own carrier, but he's not happy with that idea. Other sellers are fine with it because I will provide them with a tracking number for their protection. All they have to do is enter that tracking number into eBay, and eBay are happy with it. So after some time, he goes back on his offer of £15 and he says he can ship it early tomorrow. I still haven't accepted this and tell him that it's cheaper to go on parcel to go. He says he can't find anything below £6 including VAT, so I send him a link and a screenshot. He was then able to find the postage for around £3 including VAT without insurance and confirms this. It's a little bit higher than the actual cost, but I said yeah, it's fine. Whilst this was going on, he relisted the item and I'd put my bid in there as well. So once I paid for this item, he ended the other item. He says he will dispatch it the following day and gives me the tracking link. The second GPU was an NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti Founders Edition. This was £600 and I won this in an auction with £20 postage. Now £20 postage is way too much, and this came from a seller Al21287 from Livingston. So the reason for the seller selling this graphics card is because he's changed from a desktop to a laptop. I asked the seller to give me a copy of the invoice and I think he put this in the actual parcel. I negotiated the cost of the delivery so that I arrange it myself. I asked the seller for the dimensions and the weight of the parcel so I can get a quote as well as his location. I agreed that it would be my responsibility for any damages caused by the courier if I arranged the courier myself. He did say it was 90 centimeters wide, so I had to get that double checked and it was actually 9 centimeters. I send him a list of locations which is near to him so he doesn't have to wait inside for the courier to turn up. The third GPU is the MSI GeForce GTX 1080 Ti Aero Overclock Edition. This was originally listed for £640 and I offered £600 for this graphics card. It was accepted with free postage. The seller was Mr. Morg85 from Flight. Now this was a brand new graphics card. It lists all the specs and features. So it sends me a copy of the invoice with these details removed. And looking at the invoice, it was £680, so I have no idea why he was listing it for £640. The price without VAT is £566.66, so maybe he's claiming the VAT back, some kind of VAT fraud thing, but I don't know. I can't see why a seller would sell something that's brand new less than what he actually paid for it. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, so this is my spreadsheet. I've got the case and SSD already in there from before. Okay, so the motherboard, which was the Asus Prime Z270p. My target was £88, but that was based on the ASRock page 81 motherboard. Okay, so just going through my emails again. I did actually haggle on this item. On my second go, I asked the seller what was his best offer, and he said 90 was his best offer, and he said the board was almost new. So that's a haggle of £9.99. I also used Nectar vouchers for £7.50. And Top Cashback had an offer. If you spend £10, they'll give you an extra £2.50. So that's the 1% cashback plus an extra £2.50. I also got 1% cashback on my credit card, which reduced the graphics card down to £78.28, which is a saving of £21.72, around 22%. The next item is the RAM, the 4GB. My budget for this was £20, which was based on a DDR3 RAM. I got this for £27.38. Normally the delivery would have been £2.99, but because I bought this with the CPU, it was free delivery. There was an offer on Top Cashback for 1.01% cashback. I also got another 1% cashback on my credit card, which meant I paid £26.83 for the RAM. This is over budget, but this is a DDR4 RAM instead of the DDR3. I've saved £3.54, which is about 11.5%. The CPU, I had a budget of £28, but that was for the LGA1150 Celeron processor. This processor was £33.70. Normally the postage would have been £2.99, but because I got this with RAM, it was free postage. I also got an extra 84p off because when I refreshed the web page, it had a different price. after I bought it. I got the 1.01% cashback from Top Cashback, another 1% cashback from the credit card, which means I paid £32.20, which is a saving of £4.49, which is around 12%. Next item was the PSU, power supply. Now for the power supply, I had a budget of £1 per 10 watts, so a 1300 watt power supply would be £130. So I got this power supply for £98.85. I could have got this cheaper if I wanted to import it from China, but because I wanted it to arrive with the motherboard and RAM and so I can have everything all powered up and tested, it needed to arrive quickly. It was free delivery, it was a buy it now. I got 1% cash back, another 1% cash back on the credit card, which means I paid £96.87, which is a saving of just under £2 or 2%. The next item is the 6 PCI riser cards. The budget for these were £5 each. I could have got them cheaper from China on eBay, but I decided to go for these ones as I wanted them quickly. These were second hand and they cost £29.99 with free delivery. I used £23.15 worth of Amazon vouchers because that's what I had, and these vouchers were from earnings from Top Cashback. I used my credit card on the difference between what the amount was and what I got deducted through the vouchers, so that's only 7p, which means I paid £6.77 for the 6 riser card. That's a saving of £23.22, about 77.5%. The first GPU, well, all GPUs have a budget of £600 each. This one was the MSI Armor, was £580 with £15 delivery. I wasn't happy with the delivery, so I haggled this down by £12 down to £3. I got 1% cashback from Top Cashback, or £5.80, another 1% cashback from my credit card, which means the graphics card was £571.37, which is a saving of £23.63, just under 4%. Second graphics card was the Nvidia Founders Edition. Again, for £600 budget, this cost £600. The delivery was £20. I arranged my own delivery for £2.63. I had another £7.50 Nectar voucher. Top Cashback again had another offer where if you spend £10, they'll give you an extra £2.50 on top of your cashback. So in this case, the 1% cashback. So that adds up to £8.30. I got 1% cashback on the credit card, which means I paid £580.88. That's a saving of £39, which is just over 6.25 cents. The third graphics card was the MSI Aero. Again, £600 for the budget. It was £640 with free delivery, and I haggled 40% off from the asking price. I also had £17.50 in Nectar vouchers. I got 1% cashback from Top Cashback, another 1% from my credit card, which means I paid £570.68, which is a saving of £69.33, just under 11% saving. So if I update the totals, I've spent just under £2,000 or $2,500. I've got about £3,000 left, or just under $4,000. If this video has helped you or you like this video, leave a thumbs up. If you don't like it, leave a thumbs down and say why. And if you haven't already done, hit the subscribe button and press the bell, and I'll see you next time.